When I first moved out on my own, the only apartment I could afford was in an old 4-story building from the 1960s. I moved into Unit 304 on the 3rd floor. Everything was normal, except for one thing. The unit next to mine, 305, was always silent. Eerily silent. Occasionally, around 2 or 3 a.m., I'd hear muffled sounds through the wall. Like someone mumbling, pacing slowly. I assumed it was just an old tenant with insomnia. One day, I ran into an elderly neighbor by the elevator. She asked me casually, "Have you ever seen the guy in 305? I laughed and said, "Nope. Never. But I do hear noises at night." Her face went blank. Then she replied, "That apartment's been empty for 5 years." After that conversation, the noises became harder to ignore. I'd hear faint whispering, scratching, even paper rustling. Always at night. Always from that wall. So I set up my phone camera near my window, aimed directly at apartment 305's door across the hallway. Just to see if anything happened while I was asleep. The next morning, I checked the footage. At 1:53 a.m., the door to 305 slowly opened. A man's face emerged from the darkness. He didn't move. He didn't blink. He just stared directly into the camera for 30 seconds, then closed the door. I ran downstairs to speak to the building supervisor. He swore up and down that 305 was vacant, and that the keys were locked up with the police. I couldn't stop thinking about it, so I went to the local precinct and asked about apartment 305. At first, they wouldn't tell me anything, but after pressing a bit, one officer pulled me aside. He said, in 2017, a man named Leo Mayers lived in that apartment. He had no friends, no job. Neighbors said he talked to the walls at night. Said people were watching him. I asked what happened. One day, he was found hanging inside the apartment. Suicide. But the weird part? He had surveillance cameras set up in every corner of the unit. He claimed someone was sneaking in while he slept. The officer paused, then added, when they checked the footage, there were moments where his back was to the wall, and shadows would move behind him, even though no one else was in the room. And then, sometimes, the camera would shift, like someone grabbed it. While he was still alive. I moved out the next week. On my last night in that apartment, as I was carrying boxes down the hallway, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned around. No one, but the door to 305 was open just a crack. And from inside, I swear I heard a whisper, "Now it's your turn." No official records exist of Leo Mayers. No police reports. No obituary. Nothing. But people in that building still talk about 305 in hushed voices. Maybe the scariest things aren't the ones we see. Maybe it's the ones watching us, from the other side of the wall.